Okay, everybody, welcome to another episode of Coffee with Khaldor. Today we have a Fury with us. Hey, buddy, welcome to the show. How you do?
Hey, I'm doing good. Glad to be here.
Obviously, everybody is going to be interested what you have to say about HGC. And to be honest, I haven't even talked about it on my own YouTube channel yet, so I guess that's going to be a bit of a conversation. Before we start with how everything went down, let's start a little bit with how you actually started, because you've been a pro gamer for, I want to say, 3 years in total, right? Even before HGC, you've been highly successful there.
It's about 4 years.
Mhm. How did you start with all of this? Like, where did the interest come from to actually try and become a pro gamer in HGC in the first place?
So I would say it started a long time ago with a passion with MOBAs in general. I started with Warcraft 3 version of Dota, and then I switched over to League of Legends a bit, and then played a little bit of Dota 2.
Hmm.
While all of that wasn't like for, competitive being pro, I never attempted those. I did achieve pretty good milestones in League of Legends, which was challengers and threes back in season 2 and 3,
Hmm.
and then high diamond one, which was back then pretty good because it was actually kind of hard to get challenger in solo queue.
Yeah.
It was a long grind. So yeah, I've always been good at MOBAs. I knew that, but I've never really thought about pushing to be a pro. So once I knew Blizzard was coming out with a MOBA, like I love Blizzard. Like that's where my love for MOBAs began. So I'm like, all right, let's check out this Heroes. Hopefully, I'll get invited
Hmm.
for the alpha testing. And luckily, after like a month, like because first they released it to content creators and all that, and
Yeah.
then later on more general public. And I was lucky enough after a month of the content creators got to play, I got invited. So that's where it all began. I really thought, if I do my best, have a love for this game, I think I could actually do something here.
So you actually from the beginning were hoping to become pro or like at least play on a higher competitive level than in the games that you did before.
Yeah, for sure. I saw this game. I played after my first game, like, wow, this game's really fun. And for an alpha, like this is just the beginning. So I'm looking forward to seeing you know, at first, like, all right, it doesn't have an esport obviously yet, but it's a
Hmm.
Blizzard game. They have a lot more support for their other games for esports. So I'm looking at it like, yeah, MOBA is still pretty popular lately. So there's no way this does not turn into an esport that people will enjoy.
Okay, so what is your background at that time? Like, what were you doing? I assume that during the time when you were looking at Dota 1, Dota 2, and League of Legends that you were still at school there?
Yeah, back in the first Dota and Warcraft, I was still like in school, so just normal life in high school and all that, and then or actually probably middle school and high school, but yeah, still being in school for all that stuff. So, but once it got closer towards I guess the end of league,
Hmm.
I would say I just been, yeah, I think still attending school, and then I'd say my life changed quite a bit once Heroes started, or once I got invited.
Hmm.
I was mainly I did one semester of college. Well, I almost finished, but I was basically just a dropout because I really did not know what to do, and I didn't want to really waste my money on college and like get in depth if
Hmm.
I'm not 100% sure what I want to do. I can't really say if it was a good or bad decision, but overall, like, it's good to move on and not really have too many regrets in life. And I'm definitely grateful to like be where I'm at and with the decisions I've made.
So from the get-go, you were focusing on that in general. Like you were from the beginning, you focused the entire like your full time onto becoming like a pro player there, or did you have to split it at some point where you said, okay, I need to do like I have another job, for example, or something just to pay the bills, or how did that work out?
Yeah, so I would say the first year of playing in the alpha was I was part time working at Walmart overnight stocking.
Hmm.
So I did that just to have some money flowing in because I was out at my own place having my own apartment, and so needed income, and at the time Heroes could not provide that.
Hmm.
So after I believe the NA regionals, the very first one at Vegas, pretty sure that's when like I was able to, I saved up enough money, and I'm like, all right, I want to commit full time to Heroes and like be really good at the game. So I ended up giving my 2 week notice to Walmart, and then yeah, just went full on in on Heroes.
All right, not bad. Like that was a lot more commitment from the get-go than most of the players I talked to. I like the coffee, by the way.
This mug is amazing. Like, if it's still in the Blizzard store, you guys, everyone should definitely get it. It's huge.
Yeah,
It,
I
it
got the
fills so
same
much
one.
coffee.
It was so like it's so big that the coffee machine that I had back home, I couldn't fit it in there. So whenever I wanted to drink coffee out of this one, I had to use a smaller one first and then pour it into the other cup. It was actually really weird because when I saw it at the first time, I think I got it in. It might have been the launch event, I don't know, but at some point I got that. It might have been a Christmas present. So I tried it out and I was like, this is amazing. Let's put some coffee in it. It was like, well, that just doesn't fit into the coffee machine.
Yeah, it's the biggest mug I've probably ever seen, honestly.
Yeah. Uh, how exactly, like, you said you were working at Walmart part-time to afford rent. At that point, what was the plan? Like you were saying that you played for roughly like a year in the alpha and then you decided to quit your job there. But up to that point when there was actually some money involved in Heroes and you could say, okay, I think I can sustain myself through playing that. What was your plan just for life in general? Was it just to really see and hope that esports in Heroes would take off and that you could make a living through that? Or what would have been the game plan if, let's say, for some reason there was no esports developing within Heroes? Would you have moved to a different game, or would you have just quit gaming and focused on something else instead?
Yeah, so for me, growing up, video games have always been like a big deal. I've always enjoyed them. I have a strong passion for it. And then while I was playing League, I spent a lot of time watching the actual pro scene while playing casually. So I watched like a lot of the teams like TSM, CLG, like all those like season one, two, and three teams back in LCS when that was beginning. Yeah, I just had a huge passion. It was very inspiring to like watch those players grow. And I was thinking to myself, like, I think if I really pushed, I can honestly do the same thing. But
Mhm.
when I was at the time when I was playing League, like it was around season three, like at the end of season two, I was like, all right, I'm starting to get good. Season three, I was like, all right, I think I'm pretty good at this game. But I was like, I feel like it's too late for me to really push my name out there, and like you have to kind of get lucky too,
Mhm.
especially when the scene's already developed to get your name out there, and like, that's the biggest thing is getting your name out there and letting people know you're out there to maybe give you a tryout for like an amateur team to maybe a pro team.
Mhm.
So I've been watching a lot, and then I just once Heroes came out, and I was like, all right, the scene is brand new. There might be a strong chance for like some sort of like LCS type thing in the far future, but I want to make sure I'm there straight from the beginning. I want to make sure, everybody knows me for who I am, like what I'm really good at. And then I slowly became like a tank main because like in every MOBA, I always loved the hook mechanic. So I played a lot of Blitzcrank, Thresh in League, and then Dota was Pudge. So once Heroes came out, I really adored Stitches at the time.
That changed. You don't like the new changes to the hero?
The recent nerf to his hook range hurts so much. It's still good, but it hurts.
Okay, but he's what got you into the tank role. And I mean, it worked out for you. You actually also traveled quite a bit through heroes in general, right? Not only HGC. So how exactly was that for you? Because I feel like did you travel abroad before that? Like, did you ever leave the US on vacation or anything else before you played abroad for heroes?
No, this was honestly the first time I ever traveled to Europe or any other country besides the United States.
Mhm.
I have been to Texas before, but there's only been one event actually. DreamHack Austin.
Yeah.
There was an event for Heroes. But yeah, first time going to Europe was in DreamHack Sweden with Gale Force eSports at the time.
That was, if I
So
remember correctly, a bit of a shit show for you guys, right? Didn't like half of
yeah,
the team
there was
lose your luggage, and I don't know, like what happened there? Can you
yeah.
recall?
So to touch up on that drama and that craziness, it began with Michael Udall and Akaface. They both lived together, or not together, but like close to where they can just take the same flight to Europe.
Hmm.
So they were the last
Oh,
two to
right.
arrive, only because I think that started with flight delays, and then it ended up with their luggage being lost. And then at the time, Akaface, he really needed his medication, and he ended up not bringing it with his personal. He put it in his luggage, so that was a little bit crazy. And then, yeah, they ended up arriving the day of our first match, like probably like an hour or two before. our match. They ended up like making it in time.
Did your luggage get lost, or was it for you pretty much smooth
No,
sailing?
I had a very smooth and enjoyable time,
Okay.
so I felt really bad, and I was kind of worried that they weren't gonna make it.
How did you like traveling in general? Was it the way you expected? Was it like, would you say it was like a huge difference to what you were expecting before you traveled to Sweden, or can you just like lead me through that a bit?
Yeah, so once I found out I'm traveling to Europe, I was like, oh, that's gonna be really cool. It's something I've never thought I would be able to do
Hmm.
outside of like esports because, it's expensive to travel like that. So it was really cool to get like, a free trip over there and like, deserving and earning it.
Yeah.
So once I started traveling, the one thing that was kind of intimidating or like kind of scared me, like once I landed in Europe, you had to go through like a security check and like give them a reason, like what are you here for, and they have to stamp approval on your passport. So I was like, oh, I'm here to play some video games professionally, and they're like, oh, for where and stuff like that. I'm like, oh, for DreamHack is where we're playing, and then he's like, all right, how long and stuff. It's just like I felt like I was being interrogated, but I mean, it makes sense. It's just for the safety of letting people into your country.
I
It's
usually just
standard.
tell them I'm on a vacation.
Vacation.
It depends pretty much on where
I
I
guess
travel.
it's vacation once you get knocked out. So you got those memes when you get knocked out pretty early. You always see in chat, NA enjoy your vacation.
I mean, did you enjoy the time? Like, okay, all memes aside for a second, you had a couple of days off, so did you enjoy that time? Because, I mean, quite often you're in that setup, you travel somewhere, you play, and you immediately move back. You don't really get to see a whole lot from the country itself. The only thing you see is the venue and the hotel. Did you get an opportunity to see something, or how did that entire trip work out for you?
Yeah, we had some time off just to like explore the area, walk around, have some fun. So at the time it was with Gale Force. So me, Udall, Rafflecopter, Akaface, Crowan, and Crowan. I was trying to remember the roster at the time. So all of us were hanging out, walked around, just explored some of the shops and stuff like that. And funny enough, we were just walking around in Crowan. He has his big afro, so that's pretty uncommon to see, I guess, in Sweden. And a bunch of other like guys just came up and like were really like impressed, like they've never seen this before. And then one of the guys just walked up without asking Crowan, just kind of like put his hand like in his hair, like petting it. So Crone was kind of like, whoa. But yeah, it was really enjoyable. Honestly, what I really loved about Sweden and just Europe in general is just like the way everything looks, like the buildings, the streets. It's just like it's so different from here in America.
Like the hair thing is actually kind of funny. The Swedes are proud of their hair. I mean, just look at the old Fnatic lineup. If you touch Breeze's hair, then you're basically on a kill list already. So can't do that. So when they see an afro, they're excited. I get that. That's probably why nobody likes me in Sweden. I'm kidding.
Oh
Not
no.
not quite able to point on that card. Um, with Gale Force and after the mid-season brawl, the first one where you traveled, I think that was also when we had quite a bit of drama on the NA side because you were let go from the team, right? And the explanation back then had something to do with the relationship that you had, like that you don't go able to put enough time in because of a girlfriend. What exactly happened back there? Do you remember the details of what was going on at the time?
So right after, like, I think the day of, the night of, or the day after, we had a discussion with our owner from GFE, which at the time it's Ryan, if
Hmm.
anyone remembers who Ryan was. But yeah, he had a one-on-one with each player and management stuff like that. And yeah, I thought it went good, and I wasn't really thinking like, oh no, like he might be wondering what went wrong, like what should we do like to make it next time like we perform a lot better. Because if people remember well, like we underperformed heavily at that tournament, and yeah, it was just awful. But so that talk went fine. I was like, all right, we're gonna come back home, take like a few days off, refresh, and get ready to get back to scrims, get ready for all the NA matches, and then look to requalify again for international tournaments. But yeah, what ended up happening was I get a message from management. I don't really want to say names, so I'll just stick
Yeah,
with
totally fine.
management, and then one other player, and then just getting told that basically I'm getting replaced was first time getting replaced like that, like it hurt real bad.
Hmm.
It was like my I had like feelings in my throat. It was like kind of hard to talk, you know.
Yeah.
So I was really crushed to hear like, you know, like moving forward they're gonna replace me, and then I asked them like what's the reasoning? Like I want to at least know like why this is happening. And also the worst thing was it was kind of it really felt like they made these plans like way ahead of time, like before we even went to this Sweden trip. So
Okay.
it just seemed like they were ready to make replacements. Like
Hmm.
there's rumors here and there. I've been told a few things from various other people, but you know, it's all in the past. I'm not mad at anybody. It's just it is what it is. It sucked at the time, obviously, but yeah, to get told the reasoning was for my replacement is my I had a relationship. I still do with my same girlfriend. I'm very happy, but before the excuse was that you know there can be girlfriend issues or girlfriend problems to where like it might stress me out. It might affect the way I play in tournaments, which I have never been affected by any feelings while I'm in the zone.
Hmm.
When I play on stage, especially, I'm really focused and like I always make sure I try to play my best and I don't let like the outside world distract the way like I perform on stage. So yeah,
Like,
it
were
was
you
just yeah. Go ahead.
the one question I had was like, were you the only one that had a girlfriend at the time?
I believe Rafflecopter also was in a relationship with someone else. I
So,
think they ended up breaking apart, but that was way after me.
but why exactly would that be a reason then? If I mean, if you're the only one and they're afraid that you're splitting your time and they feel they have to focus everything you have into this. I might still not quite agree with that decision or that reasoning, but it might be a little bit more understandable. But so, do you know where the difference there was, or did you ever talk about that with them?
Um, Not really. I never really went and talked to them again about specifically like what was the real reason.
Hmm.
I think what I was kind of told in rumors and stuff like that from people is they've already had plans to like get another teammate they like want to play with.
Hmm.
Not it's not like okay, Fury underperformed, we have to kick him. Like if they told me like I underperform or I did or I have a toxic attitude that needs to be replaced, like
Yeah,
that's reasonable. Like that's a good reason to, replace a player.
yeah.
But to be told that reason and then like, like I was upset, I tweeted that out. I tweeted that out, which I probably shouldn't at the time, but like that was my first time experiencing like, in esports like something very negative. So I found out like tweeting it, letting it out probably wasn't the best decision, but it was there. So
Okay, before we jump on that, like just one question. How long were you together with her at the time? Because you, as you said, you're still together, so that must be a pretty long relationship that you guys have there.
um gosh, how long? It was probably like I want to say like 3 or 4 months. So
Okay.
we're like just started dating at the time, and we're still dating to that till this day. So we're almost at 3 years. So, but
How did
yeah,
you make that work? Because in esports, it's always weird. You have a very different schedule than anybody else. Like, I don't know, a significant other comes home from work, you have to start playing or you have to start scrimming. So the entire esports thing is always pretty hard on relationships because the entire schedule is just completely opposite to another person unless that person does a lot of shift work, for example. So was there any trouble with that over the course of the relationship, and how did you handle that?
I would say it varies on how you meet the this person. So at first, it started long distance relationship. I met her through talking on Twitter and stuff like that.
Hmm.
And then I ended up visiting here over spring break just to like meet for the first time, see if this is something we want to move forward with, which is like it's getting more like common that people meet online and then like kind of like meet up and see what happens. But yeah, we were interested, we started dating, and then I think like after a month I started making plans, or I wanted to like start seeing her more, and then like I eventually like months later moved closer to Texas. I was living in Illinois, then I made plans to move there. So it really depends. Like first, like does she like video games? I'd say like if you love video games, you put so much time. You like it's really important that she understands like video games and
Hmm.
like supports you and like it helps a lot more when she plays the same game I do, and then she understands what I do. So like it helps a lot that whoever you're dating understands what you're doing and how much time you need to put in, and like that she needs to support you to like have a successful relationship with your girlfriend, and then still maintaining your esports career.
Was it still difficult at times with those time problems, or was it just something that from the get-go, as you said, like she understood what you were doing and so it never became an issue?
I think personally, no, I don't think we never really had like a fight or issues over like esports. Like I tried to really well balancing like my time with her and then also with my team
Hmm.
and scrims and all that. So I made sure like scrims and teams were like a big priority. But if obviously if she had an emergency or something like that, if she really like wanted to do something other, like I'll make sure like, all right, on this day I'm not busy. Like let's plan something there. Like I made sure
Okay.
I balanced it out really well. So I guess I'm pretty lucky that I have a very supportive girlfriend with esports.
Good on you. Sounds great. But you like how we came on that path. We talked a bit about what happened after the mid-season brawl and what they named as a reason originally why you were let go there. As you said, probably might have been something different entirely. How did you cope with that situation though? Because from you basically go from a high to an immediate low. You attend an offline event and circumstances are already pretty difficult for you guys since, as we talked about earlier, two of your players get delayed heavily. You just come in at the game. The results, therefore, aren't where they should have been. You have no time before your first game to even practice or even scrim a little bit. But you're still at the offline event, so you make that happen, and then you come back and you're let go of the team. So you're just going through a real roller coaster of feelings here. Like, how did you cope with that situation, and what was your plan afterwards? Like, what did you do next?
Yeah, so coming back and getting that news, it definitely hurt. I took like a day or two just to like relax, refresh my mind, talk to my girlfriend and all that, try and like just like reset my attitude because you don't want this thing to like be bothering you for weeks and stuff, especially if you still have a passion for the game, you want to keep moving forward. So, not sure what the time frame was from when I got kicked to going to my new team. So after that GFE roster, I ended up being on the Murlocs 2.0 roster, which is me, Cawthon Lux, Psalm, Caterpillar, and June. So that was like the first iteration of like that team that eventually became Tempo Storm.
Hmm.
And then we took pretty good amount of gains in NA region. We won back to back NA regionals with their roster. So before all that, yeah, I just took my time. I'm like, all right, I want to get back in this. I want to, prove I was not the problem, and I want to show people like I'm still a very valuable player to have on a team, and just kind of make sure like people know like what they did was a big mistake.
Hmm. And I mean, did you at any point consider quitting?
Yeah, not a lot of people know this, but like when that roster of Murlocs 2.0 was before we attended the regional that we won,
Hmm.
scrims were going really like it was really like difficult the week before we traveled. So we were like losing a lot, and people were just like not as motivated. And we're like, oh god, we're just gonna go there and lose. Like it was really rough like on a few of us.
Hmm.
And then this is June's first appearance, so like I'm pretty sure he was like the most positive because he's like excited for his first LAN. But yeah, some of us like like we were just like low expectations. Like no one really looked at us as a threat as well, which probably helped us in the long run. We were kind of just like the underdogs of that tournament. So yeah, there was a time where I felt personally like, oh man, if this tournament doesn't go well, I'm probably gonna call it quits because it sucks, going from becoming the best in your region and then like attending these events
Hmm.
to having to restart with a fresh new roster and then working your way. Like that could be exciting too, but it's just right after being on the best team to working your way up again. Like it was really rough at the start.
What would have been the backup plan? What was your plan in case that the tournament doesn't go well and you decide that you wouldn't continue trying to be a pro in Heroes? Would you have moved to a different game, or did you not really think about, okay, what you're going to do then?
Um, yeah, like I said, I'm very heavy on MOBA, so I don't think I would. try out a different genre game, and I always felt like I was kind of behind on League of Legends and Dota 2,
Hmm.
even though those were still like the best MOBAs to like for the scene. And but I was worried like if how long is it going to take for me to get really good at the game and then to get noticed, and I would probably have to take another like part-time job or full-time job while I attempt to go pro in like a different MOBA.
Yeah.
So if I ended up quitting at that time, I don't think I would have went to a different game.
Hmm.
Just like right now, like I probably at the time would have just got either my Walmart job back just to get money flowing in, and then probably look at school or something like that. Like actually work towards my actual career that I can like live off of and then retire hopefully.
Hmm. How were your parents thinking about all of that? I mean, did you share that with them? Did they follow your career at that point? And did you get advice from them? You said that you talked to your girlfriend quite a bit about the situations that happened there, but did your parents play a role there as well?
So with my household, it was just mostly I grew up with my sister and my mom. Never really had a connection with my dad.
Okay.
did a little bit when I was young, but yeah, he's just never really been there. So I dealt with that. So my mom got to experience a lot of it, and at the beginning, she was kind of questionable about it because at the time I wasn't in college, and then I was just working part time at Walmart. So she was just really concerned, like, what is this path that I'm trying to take like going to accomplish for me in the long run, and
Hmm.
will it be worth it? It's just a typical parent like response of like she wants to make sure I have the best future ahead of me, and she's like she doesn't know much about esports and video games and all that.
Did that
So
change?
um so after some time, yeah, we lived in Illinois. After some time, it was actually during that first regional with Murloc Geniuses 2.0 where I get a unexpected call on Saturday. I remember this really clear. I get a call on Saturday, so it's day two of the bracket to qualify for top four. And I get a call from my mom basically saying that once I get home, I have to find a different place to live and stuff like that. So it apparently got to the point where she didn't really support the esports career,
Hmm.
and she wanted me to, I guess, kind of like I have an older sister, and she took the normal route of going to college and doing all like what the normal stuff that people do, and not really understanding and supporting esports at the time. So yeah, I had to go through that tournament with that in mind, or finishing that tournament. So it was pretty. I don't know what the word was.
I mean, when you started that story, I was expecting to hear something along the lines of she's outside and wants to watch the tournament or something like that, a surprise visit.
No.
So, um, was it basically one of these like scare him straight things, like you have to support yourself, and then he's going to realize by himself that he can't make a living out of this, or that he can't do that, or what was like? To me, that seems random. Just like what was behind that?
I think it was just it seemed like it was a lot of things built up. Like I think she had like a lot of things like her own personal things that were building up, like with her job, and then just she always wanted to make sure like I was like being successful, just like my older sister. It felt like so. I
But
think
that,
it just bottled like there's something bottled up to
yeah,
that led her to wanting to, I guess, push me to see if like what I would do, I guess, and
okay.
maybe she felt like if he's out in the like on his own, maybe he'll develop some skills or like learn a life lesson or something like that. So
That was the tournament though where you guys did well, right? So you
yep.
came into the tournament with bad results in scrims, everybody being demotivated. You get that news before it starts, and then you crush. How
Yeah,
does that work?
I would say not really crushed. We barely clutched it out. Like at the grand finals, it was actually against GFE, my last roster that kicked me. It went all the way to game five on Blackheart's Bay. I remember this clear as day, and I just remember Cawthon look carrying all of our games whenever he got Zagara, and at that time Zagara was really good if you knew how to play her. So yeah, it was a crazy tournament just overall, and like a lot of mixed emotions, but like in the end, like I was very happy. Like just the way it turned out.
Okay, I have one follow-up though. Like that must have put a little bit of a strain also on your relationship with your mom at the time. Did that now change? I mean, we're talking 2 years back, 3 years back at this point. Did that fence get mended, or like is it still a bit of a strained relationship that you have there?
Lately, yeah, definitely has been a lot better. It went on like after I ended up moving to just a Facebook friend's like apartment like 3 hours away, so that wasn't like I didn't have difficult time like finding a new place to live.
Hmm.
So I managed to stay there for a few months until I was able to find my own place. So I'm thankful for, my friend that like gave me like a place to stay while I continued playing Heroes and then looking for my own place to live. So yeah, I eventually went from that to finding an apartment here in Texas so I can live like really close to my girlfriend. Just because I never wanted to make it a long distance. I want to like be able to see her as much as I can. So that's what I ended up doing in the long run.
I mean, with all of that, for you, the switch to HGC itself must have been huge then, right? All of a sudden, you have a really steady income, and you kind of know what you're doing there. So, how did that affect you?
It was a big relief. It was basically like me telling myself like, all the hard work is gonna pay off. Like I'm gonna be in this league that Blizzard's gonna be supporting, and this is basically what I've been working towards. Is like hopefully getting like like much more stable income than the previous NA regionals. Like they were decent prize pool. They were pretty good if you were winning all of them. Like, but it wasn't nearly as much as like you'd want to start saving money.
Yeah.
But like once HGC was announced, like it was good enough to like start earning money from and like actually sit down like all right, this is like a real job now. Like I'm actually getting paid yearly for this.
How was the routine for you in HGC? Because we've seen a lot of players that, for example, after a year or two, then decided that they would quit the game. I mean, JPL, even before all of this happened, already said that he wants to do something different. We had Quarknix, for example, retiring. So there was a lot, like a huge strain on a lot of players, and different people obviously dealt with it differently. But was that something that caught you maybe a bit off guard as well, or was that exactly what you were hoping for the entire time in the first place?
Can you repeat the first part real quick? Sorry.
Just like the schedule that you had through HGC, like the scrims and like the strain that people talk about when we're talking about esports. There's a lot of people that burn out because it's pretty much all you do. Like you're playing a lot, you're practicing a lot, and I was just curious if that was for you more a problem or if you found yourself in a space where you said, this is actually what I wanted to do from the beginning.
Yeah, so I definitely adjusted pretty well to like that whole HEC schedule of just scrimming, then play all your matches on the weekend and stuff like that. There have been phases where I felt burnt out,
Mhm.
which in the long run, I think it kind of showed a tiny bit, and maybe a reason why I was kicked off at the time Tempo Storm
Mhm.
when I was playing for that roster is towards the end I kind of showed I guess a sign of weakness that I was feeling a little bit burnt out and ultimately probably the reason why I ended up getting replaced on that team.
Mhm.
So it definitely is a lot of work like especially if you want to like be the best and like compete really well international, which I've always wanted to get top 4 was like a goal at these internationals, but I've always come a little bit short and yeah, just trying to achieve those goals and then also working pretty much like every day, so many hours. Like it eventually does get to you and it does like burn you out slowly.
Do you have a favorite moment in Heroes though? Like one event or one particular moment that you can remember where you say like this was actually really special to me?
Honestly, I would say was it the first BlizzCon? Because I attended 2 BlizzCons. I think it was one of the BlizzCons where I was on Tempo and we faced off against Fnatic. I think it was the second time I went to BlizzCon. We faced off game 1 against Fnatic. We were on Towers of Doom, and it's my favorite game ever. It's my favorite event. I loved competing at BlizzCon. It was so exciting to like play on stage and then see all the fans, and then you're on home turf, so you have NA chants and all that. So it's really
Yep.
exciting. And then our first game on that stage was us beating Fnatic on Towers of Doom, and it was mainly because we had a very unique strat that was kind of new, which was the Garrosh Medivh combo. So it was the Garrosh toss with the taunt and then Medivh polybomb.
Hmm.
So we had a very specific strategy with that combo to like CC lock one person down or like get multiple people taunted and then the polybomb spreading like crazy. So we made like a lot of specific comps with the Garrosh Medivh, and I was actually really excited that we managed to pull that off. And then all in all, just getting that first victory, like getting the crowd really hyped that we took game one off like a really strong European team.
How much can you hear as a player on the BlizzCon stage? Because that crowd gets loud.
Yeah, you can hear like the casters at time. You can't word out what the caster's saying. You hear the muffling
Hmm.
when like the casters are going, but the crowd you mainly only hear them once they're like chanting something or cheering. So if you hear like USA, USA, or like if you just hear like just clapping and roaring of cheering, like yeah, you can definitely hear that. But yeah, usually the headsets are pretty good to where like it doesn't pick up on other people's mics, and then you could still clearly hear your teammates and what they're saying. But it's still really awesome and nice to like when you do something amazing or like you
Hmm.
win the game, you just hear the crowd go off.
That's awesome. Yeah, like this is one of the crazy things, especially when you have an A team on the stage. Like that was all like the crowd at BlizzCon is amazing in itself, but once you have an A team on the stage, it's a completely different level. It's actually insane. I mean, with that, let's go into a little bit of a harder topics here, like the downfall of HGC when everything then all of a sudden started to turn. What was your mindset heading into the end of 2018? Because, like for me personally, I at some point expected that we would see HGC maybe being, like made smaller a little bit. It was cut down maybe. I could have totally seen them, for example, say, hey, minor regions, we're not going to focus on that anymore. It's not really worth it. We're going to focus on three, four major regions. I could have even seen them cut out China, for example, at the time. And my worst case scenario, I wasn't really too worried about it because my worst case scenario, and even that I thought was a complete outlier, was maybe they don't go for a league but put a tournament structure in place. And even that I called people crazy when they were saying like, hey, what happens if that? I was like, there's no way. How was it from your perspective? Were you worried when it got delayed over and over again, or were you just annoyed that you didn't have confirmation yet? Were you actually at any point really worried? Because you said when you came into Heroes, it was also like the trust in Blizzard and the esports that they built in other games that really wanted you to commit there. So, what was your mindset before you heard the news?
So yeah, before I heard the news about HCC being canceled, I had some talks with some people at BlizzCon and stuff like that, basically confirming like it will happen, but it will probably be delayed, mainly due to, Mike Morhaime stepping down. We got a new president, so they have to figure out, I don't know, all that business stuff and whatnot and budget and, and all that. Obviously, we can see what happened with the budget cuts, but yeah, at the time, like I'm pretty optimistic. I'm very positive until like, something bad happens. Like it is in the back of my mind, but I don't try to stress on that stuff because it's you can go like as you can see like from a lot of tweets of players and stuff, they were going for weeks of like worried and stressed and stuff like that. Like
Yeah.
I think my biggest thing, I probably should have been a lot more prepared of like what's my plan B. I need my plan B to be ready if for some reason HCC is not happening, and I did not really do that. So I was caught really off guard once I read the news. So it hurt a lot to like be told at BlizzCon, and then like a month and like a week or two later, suddenly like, oh, by the way, it's not happening, and then we get told that, and then the same time the public gets to know. So I don't know what exactly happened, but it's just the way it was handled was very poor in my opinion, and gosh, I feel bad for not just myself but like everyone who's affected. Like it really sucks. Like I don't know. Not that it was canceled, just the way it was
Yeah.
canceled. Like wow. Like I thought for sure. Like if anything, we would probably get some cuts. Like yeah, like we might like stop HEC and like go back to like regionals and stuff like that.
Hmm.
But that was the worst case I thought. Or like maybe the pay for all the players across all the HEC teams would get reduced a little bit or something like that. Like that was the worst case I was thinking. But to just completely just cut all the like cut everything off was that was insane.
How did you actually find out?
The news, I just Oh, yeah. We were scrimming at the time, so us and LFM, it was LFM. We were scrimming with the endemic roster, so they had like a new player and stuff. Like we're all scrimming and trying out people. Like everyone's still doing their tryout phase because we're all getting ready for next year.
Yeah.
And then in the middle of our scrim block, suddenly like they endemic pauses. Biggie's like, hey, check your emails. And then we look and we read our emails, and like our coach, everyone's there, our staff, like we're all sitting there, and then we just read off the sad news from the email, and we're just like, wow. So we go back to our custom game, our scrims in Ulchan, and we're just like, well, GG's everyone, take care. It was fun while it lasted, I guess. Then we all just kind of left our scrims, and yeah, it was just wow. It was so sad.
I mean, did you talk it through with the rest of the team at that point when you read the news, or was everybody just like, what the hell, and just went off and dealt with it in their own way?
No, yeah, we were all like pretty crushed by it. Some pretty sad like feelings were going around. Like we all stuck around for I don't know hours after we canceled the scrims and stuff like that, and talked about it. Talked about what are we gonna do next? What do we want to do and stuff like that. And what was really nice about LFM is they're not obviously the biggest org, but they like Steve, like which is the owner, and then also there's our coach Steve. So we have two Steves. They're all really generous. Like they wanted to make sure, even if there's no HGC, they want to make sure we succeed at whatever we want to do next. So our coach Steve had us come back like a week later and just like had a talk with like helping build our resumes, helping talk about our skills and like how we should do at like interviews and stuff like that. He's like did a bunch of sessions with us to prepare us like for I guess the real world or regular life. So the org really cared about the players to that point, and yeah, it just hurts to just get the same news as like the public just like that.
Was there actually any follow-up in any way from Blizzard? Like I don't even know. Like you guys get an email, you read through the statements that are being made publicly, and you of course see this entire thing unfold in front of you. But was there ever at any point a conversation that you had personally, just like a follow-up, or was that just basically it? You get the same info as everybody else, and that's pretty much the end, or was there anything additional?
Yeah, I got nothing. I didn't attempt to like email and be like asking any questions or anything.
Okay.
It was just the same as everyone. Like we got told the same time, and yeah, that was pretty much it. Just thought to myself, all right, I guess it's time to move on and like see what's next.
What is actually next? Like, do you have a plan at this point? I mean, you said plan B is something that in hindsight you felt you kind of needed to prepare a little bit better. And I guess that's true for pretty much everybody, actually. But what's your plan right now? Like, what are you doing at this point in time, and what's the plan going into the future?
So right now I need to find just a regular like full-time job or part-time job around here, just maybe like a Walmart job or just like I don't know, delivering pizzas, flipping burgers, McDonald's, whatever, just something like that just to keep the money flowing.
Uh-huh.
Because I have rent to pay, I have bills to pay, just like every ordinary, I guess, person who lives on their own. So I still have to do that, and then I still have a very strong love and passion for Heroes. Every time I try, I was in the same boat like a lot of people wanted to keep playing like in esports. So like people would start playing a little bit of Dota 2, start playing League, trying to find their different game they want to get into. But I re-downloaded League. I played 2 games. I was like, it doesn't feel the same. It's not as much as a strong passion as how Heroes was. It's a whole different game, and I didn't really like League, so I'm like, there's no way I don't want it. I don't even want to take the time to like put into League of Legends compared to like how much I've spent on Heroes. It wouldn't be the same love I would have for Heroes, and then same case for Dota 2. But with Dota 2, I think it's a lot harder, especially now, to get into the scene and get noticed, and then to actually make a living off Dota 2 is
Hmm.
like basically you work towards the TI or the international they have, which is like millions of dollars into like those teams. So it's a lot of risk, and I didn't really want to take. So I figured right now I need to get a job, and then probably look at college, look at some sort of degree, either a 2 or 4 year degree, and then see where I want to go from there.
One thing that kind of interests me a little bit because you said like you feel the entire way that like letting HGC go, cutting it out, was handled poorly, especially with like the way that the players found out about it. Is there a way that you feel would have been good? Like, is there any kind of like you probably have thought about that at some point yourself? Like, what would have been a way for them to communicate it properly so that you say, okay, this is a bad situation, but at least the way it was handled was the best they could have done here. Do you have any kind of version where you say like this would have been a good way? Because I thought about that too. You know what I'm like, if at some point you make a financial decision for whatever reason, how would you communicate that? And in which scenario would I, as someone that's affected of it, say, obviously the decision sucks, but at least they handle it well. Does a version of that
Oh,
exist?
yes, for sure. The very first step is not telling your players or everyone involved, like casters, like everybody, like don't say it's gonna happen. Just if there's a chance, like it needs to be told, like, hey guys, it potentially might not happen. We need to like get ready, like it might not happen, guys. Like, you might want to look into something else just in case. We didn't get none of that. We were always just strictly told, yeah, it's going to happen 2019. If you look back in one of their, I think it was the BlizzCon, like their video, like it's revealing everything for next year, and then it says on there HGC 2019. So it's like, all right, looks like it's still going to happen. They still want it to happen, but just ended up on December 13th of 2018. We get the news that it's over, just like that.
And pretty much before Christmas. Merry Christmas, by
Yeah,
the way.
Merry Christmas to everybody.
So just informing everybody earlier and trying to give people at least like keeping it so
Yes.
that people know it is a possibility. That
Yes,
would
the
have would that would have
very
been enough.
least. Yes, I think that would have been enough just to prepare everybody. For the worst case, that was going to happen. It's gone. It's done. Like everyone, like their worst cases was just, it's going to get cut a little bit,
Yeah.
but there's still going to be something from Blizzard for the esports.
How did that affect your opinion of Blizzard as a whole? Because for me personally, I mean, you read the news right now, it starts off with things like Diablo Immortal, the announcement that was played at BlizzCon, the fallout that comes from that, then HGC being cancelled. Then I hear that World of Warcraft is very unhappy as well because of an update that doesn't fulfill requirements. I never played the game, so I'm not really like in that scene, but everything I hear basically is bad news, and that has been going on for 3 months right now. And personally, not even looking at HGC and how that affected me, but it just crushes my heart because Blizzard is always that I grew up with these games. I
Hmm.
started playing with Warcraft 2 back then, Warcraft 3, commentated that for 8 years, StarCraft 2, Heroes, played Diablo during all of that, and now seeing that company, which basically for me completely embodied what the motto that they have, play nice, play fair, was all about, and just like games in general, just really I would say like the golden standard for me personally, and that was always interested in also putting esports out there. It just feels like it's soul crushing, to be honest, to just see that everything that comes out there is bad news, and I hope that at some point they get the corner and we are back on like a good path. But did the cancellation of HGC and what happened in the past few months, how did that affect you when you're thinking about Blizzard if you compare it to before?
Yeah, it was definitely very soul crushing to just have all the hard work you put into the esport, trusting in Blizzard that all this hard work will pay off, and if you do well, like you'll do well. But just the way it ended just felt like a very horrible like breakup with like a girlfriend or something. Like it was just it still stings a bit. Like it's still I'm still trying to move on from it. It's there's still like a little bit there that I'm like upset about. In terms of Blizzard, like I still love Blizzard. I still love the games. I still love the company, and like it's always been a dream, and it
Mhm.
still is to like work for that company. Like I want to help develop games or like balance like heroes or stuff like that, and help create new heroes. Like I've
Mhm.
always wanted like to work for like somewhere in the heroes team. Like that was like my end goal.
Mhm.
But so like theoretically, I playing esports for that game maybe would have gave me a stronger chance to work towards that because a lot of people knew me. Maybe I can get some connections and get some help to like maybe start a path in that career. like with working with the company to help develop games. Because yeah, like I said, I love Heroes.
Mhm.
I love Blizzard. Like I have a strong passion, and yeah, it's still there, but it hurt. It still hurts the heart a lot from the way HEC was canceled.
Let's say tomorrow Blizzard releases a new game, has esports, is something where you say, okay, this is actually a game that I enjoy playing. Would you try going to go pro again in another Blizzard game in esports? And if so, what would like how would your attitude towards the change compare to your first run, so to say, with Heroes? Would there anything be different?
I think lately it'd be a I feel like it'd be like a risk. I don't know, because like a week or so ago there was like a on the Hearthstone Reddit someone posted, I think it was like in some sort of Asian language, that they got a thing asking the players like,
Oh, the
would you
survey.
still, yeah, the
Yeah.
survey, would you still play Hearthstone if, or something like that, if there was no like league for it. So basically they're thinking of, it sounds like they might cut the Hearthstone like esports.
Hmm.
So, like that happening, and then we just saw Heroes like get cut like that. Like there's potential all these other games could get cut, and then World of Warcraft isn't doing too well with their new content. Like there's a lot of negative feedback. Like I don't even enjoy it. I always loved PvP in that game, but as of lately, I don't really enjoy the way the game is. And I know I'm a casual with that game, but everybody should have their feedback for it. And it's not the same since like Burning Crusade and Wrath of the Lich King, which were the two best expansions in my opinion. So yeah, go ahead.
I mean, I was just thinking, like in terms, you talked earlier about like having maybe a plan B, and it feels like for a lot of people that's the thought, okay, you can still become a streamer there. Is there anything else that while you are a player that you can try and do outside of having a regular stream running as well? Because one of the biggest problems or one of the biggest concerns that you hear from a lot of players is coming back to the burnout syndrome like a little bit earlier, right? You're playing for an enormous amount of time with your team in the first place on the daily scrims, and then on top of that, what can you actually do outside of trying to become a streamer? And you don't have to, if you don't have the personality for that, what else is there to do? Do you feel that if you would have been a little bit more worried about this to continue, what do you think would have been like another option or something that you would have tried to open up as a second path in case this doesn't work out? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah, big regret for me. I think I definitely should have worked harder with my stream, get more following and stuff like that. I would probably lean towards more like content creation, so it's like maybe YouTube or guides. Um, yeah, just streaming in general, so that maybe if I want to keep streaming Heroes, I still have a good following. I think I still have a decent following, but not nearly as much as I probably like could have had if I had a very like strict schedule of streaming and building up towards that.
Is that an option for you now? You said that obviously you need to pay rent and you're currently thinking about, okay, how do I make that happen? Is stream income and just like subscribers, is that an option where you think, okay, this could get to a point where I can make that happen by playing the game that, as you said, you still like?
Yeah, I think it's definitely is possible. There's still some well-known names. I know Fan plays a lot during the night, and I see him get quite like a few hundred viewers, and even like a few hundred, like that's a lot for a streamer.
Hmm.
Like people don't really realize you don't need thousands of viewers. If you could get at least like, I think even like 30 viewers, that's pretty like dang good to have consistently. But like, yeah, if you're in the hundreds, I'd say you're well off. So I think streaming is definitely important. What I want to do is I do want to keep streaming Heroes. I want to keep sticking to my favorite game. No matter where it goes, I still want to like support the game and have a passion for it. The heartbreaking thing was after the news of HGC. If you looked at Twitch, the viewership went down a lot.
Yeah.
Like it was really low. There was, I forgot who tweeted it, but someone tweeted a picture like comparing the views, and we were down to like, I don't know, a little less than like 2,000 viewers, and that was like during the day.
Yeah, but I
And
have
we
to throw a caveat in there. I think that was Christmas, right?
probably,
Uh,
yeah, I guess,
but you are correct. Like it definitely dropped
yeah,
down. But I remember the picture as well, and I think it ended up on Reddit too. But someone that immediately like, well, you're currently looking at Christmas evening or
I
something
guess
along
that's
those lines.
true.
But that being said, the idea behind it holds still true. Like the viewership has definitely dropped. Is that something that you actually experienced on your stream as well? Because I have to say that the one thing that gives me a lot of hope is that there's still a very engaged community out there of people that are very interested in that Heroes content. It feels like the hardcore fans are still there and they are more engaged than ever when I look at how supportive people are. I mean, we have more stuff coming up in terms of content. A lot of streamers are streaming more regularly on the European. You mentioned fan, but on the European side, you would talk about Main and Hazops, for example, that now with that time that they have, instead of scrimming, start streaming. And there seems to be like a huge interest for that too. So is that something that you in any way experience as well?
Yeah, I during when HGC was still a thought that it's happening, I was getting pretty good amount of views, getting a lot of hosts and subscribers and stuff like that. I got partnered on Twitch, so that was nice to get the sub button back and then get all these emotes made. And yeah, it was pretty good time. I could have, like I said, I could have worked harder for to stream more, but I didn't, and I regret that. But yeah, lately the viewership is a lot lower than I thought it would be, but there are still, like you said, like those hardcore, fans that will still, no matter like where I go, they'll still follow me like on Twitter or Twitch or whatever I'm doing. So it's definitely nice to see that there's still people who care about, like, not just me, but like everyone involved in Heroes. Like Dreadnought just streamed after so long and he got like a few hundred viewers right off the bat. People just were there just to see how he was doing and stuff like that. So there's definitely a lot of people who really care about like everybody who is involved with Heroes. And then you've been streaming the new league and stuff like that, and people are really excited for Division S. And then now we just got the Temple Storm is making a new tournament, which a lot of people are excited for. So with all those news coming out, I think I'm gonna seriously start working again on my stream and stream Heroes. And more than just streaming, I want to also provide content. So like I have a tier list on Heroes Hearth. I have like two guides now, one on Mal'Ganis and Imperius. So like I want to start providing more content for the community that still supports and loves the game like as much as I do.
Where can people actually find your stream?
My stream is at twitch.tv/FuryHot.
Okay, awesome. Because I actually think it's great that you still want to stay with the game and that you actually have still such a passion for it, even after all that happened, because it would have been quite understandable if that would have been a reason for you to go. But as you said, Hero still is really different as a MOBA from the other ones, and I personally enjoy it quite a bit too, hence the casting the entire time. But Fury, thank you very much. It was a great interview. Thanks for all the insights and also for being so honest about everything. I hope that you succeed with the stream and everything else. And again, thanks very much for jumping onto the show.
Yep, thank you so much for having me. It was a pleasure.
Have a good one. Bye bye.